Hey again, guys. Do you know what I like to do when I have something on my mind? I like to look at some baseball cards. Man, I just had a fantastic hot fudge sundae from Ye Old Fashioned Ice Cream here in Charleston. Oh, their ice cream's so good. I've mentioned it before. So, I was having a conversation with my man over at Four Leaf Cards. Check his channel out if you're not already subscribed. And there's been something on my mind, and I'm just going to spitball here. Because I think we all go through different things in the hobby that makes us enjoy it less. One of those things for me is the mad scrutinization, is that a word? Of cards these days. The complete emphasis on grade and on people who show cards feel the need to critique every little detail about it, even if it's graded. And I was thinking, we don't do that with anything else we love. We don't. Can you imagine saying, oh, I love my son, but man, he's chubby as hell. Or I love my wife, but she's got a little bit too much fat around the midsection. Her hair's just a tad bit too long. Start to critique everything. Oh man, I love my house, but I could use an extra room. Let me point out to you where the paint's not quite right. I love my new sports car, but let me show you there's a little tiny nick down here. We don't do that with anything else we love in life, right? We only do that with cards. And it's annoying to me because, if you love cards, you love cards. And so we all know, right? And I've seen a change. I've seen a change where not everybody has to have 10s in everything, or 9s or 8s or 7s. I've seen a change recently with vintage cards where people are buying good looking 3s, 4s, 5s, because we all know that there are some 4s that look better than 7s. There are 5s that look better than 7s. I've seen, a beautiful 7 that looks better than an 8. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Now, I don't collect stamps, but it's my understanding that in stamp grading, they give a general grade. And it's really up to the purchaser of that stamp to, have some input on his own based on eye appeal and so forth. And that's how I buy my cards. I routinely buy lower grade cards that look nicer than the higher grade cards. I could give two shits what PSA says it is. I really don't care. I buy all my cards based on looks. And that's why it ruins the hobby for me a little bit. I'll be honest with you. It ruins the hobby for me a bit. This overemphasis on a numerical grade. I personally would love to see more of that stamp kind of grading, where they assign it a good or a VG or an excellent. That's fine. That's what it is. And then we make the final determination on eye appeal. There are people that pay other people to tell them if it's a good looking PSA 9 or 10 or 8, right? You could tell that yourself. And so if it just had an excellent, then you can be the judge how that card looks to you, if you want to buy that card or not. And I have also seen good looking 4s, selling for higher prices than a bad looking 6 or 5. That's happening too. So I think there are many other collectors that are coming around to my way of thinking. And let's face it, with prices, lower grade or better for a lot of us. But the fact that you will pay up for a lower grade that looks great is a good thing. I've been doing that for years. I've been doing that since grading came out. I don't care what a grader assigns to it. I really don't. But the thing is everybody's selling now. Everybody wants to make that bank. And you got to have that grade. You got to have that 10 there, on a new card, even though nobody could tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. And I did a video a while back demonstrating that because, there was a guy that sent in and it got a high number of 9s turned into 10s from PSA. And that just shows you that even PSA can't tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. Come on. We all know this. I've always found it moronic to pay thousands of dollars more for a 10 over a 9 just because it has that 10. That just seems insane to me, especially as a collector, right? Especially as a collector. And I get the whole thing. If you want to sell it, there are many of us. I know Dylan has talked about this, where he sells the higher grade and keeps the good-looking lower grade. If I have a 9 and a 10 of something, man, I'll sell I don't, but I mean, I'd be willing to sell the 10 if I could get $10,000 for it and keep the beautiful 9. Absolutely. And then go buy some other beautiful 9s or beautiful 5s or whatever. But it does get annoying that every little detail of a card, we got to, it's got a little ding here. It's got a little spot here. Oh, man. But I love it. My wife's got a little too much junk in the trunk, but I love her. My car, I don't know. It's got a tar mark, but I love it. Cards are the only thing we do this with. Come on, man. This is what's on my mind. It brings me down sometimes. The overemphasis for vintage, I'm talking about, mostly. For vintage, because, to me, if a card wasn't circulated, it's not as exciting for me to own. These cards were circulated. When I see old Cracker Jack cards in a 9, man, I have to question them. They came out of Cracker Jack boxes. When I see Dan D potato chips in a 9, I gotta question it. Is it even authentic? They didn't come out of these packages a 9. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible, but you gotta question when you see somebody that has all these T206s and Cracker Jacks in 9s. It's a little suspect to me, to be honest with you. It's a little suspect to me. Were these cards ever circulated? Like for the Dan Ds, they probably, somebody took them out of the factory or something. And for me personally, if they weren't distributed, they're not as fun to collect. I think that's part of the fun for me is getting somebody enjoyed these cards when they were young. And if you watch my channel, I collect the stamp backs. And that's part of the fun for me. I know, we just borrow these cards, right? We're just curators for them till they move on, till we pass away or we get old and sell them. We're just curating them. And, I'm curating some little kid's collection from 1909 that put his name on the back or his initials. And now I'm holding those for him. And I will pass them on to the next generation or wherever. And that's kind of special to me. But I guess it's the difference between trying to make that bank with your, the grade, which I find insanely ridiculous, especially when, a lot of us suspect that certain people get those 10s over 9s, especially when you can resend 9s in for 10s and get such a high percentage of 10s out of 9s graded by the same grading company, and more, we're finding fakes graded, fake autographs graded. It's like, you can't even really trust these people anymore. But yeah, you're paying $10,000 more for a 10 over a 9. And let's get into the scarcity thing, the rare. Man, it drives me crazy when somebody says, there's 10,000 copies of a card, but there aren't that many 10s. And they'll say, this is rare. It's not a rare card. It's a rare grade. And maybe it's just because, like the Ricky Henderson rookie, people have done videos on how all of a sudden they're not grading 10s on that very often. It's almost like it's intentional. So is that rare? I don't know. It's a rare grade, but there's a difference between a rare grade and a rare card, especially when you can't tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. Who cares if a 10 is rare? I just think that you're either overly optimistic investor or you're stupid to pay $10,000 for a 10 over a 9. you're not a collector because, I mean, you can't tell the difference unless you just have money to burn. But I think there's a lot of people that think like I think. And man, I just love collecting. I love cards. I love sharing them. I love talking about them. I love seeing other people's cards. But man, I don't sit around and when I go through my cards and go, just critique every little detail about it. Why would I even have it? Why would I even have it? It just seems silly to me. But anyway, that was what was on my mind. A lot of you are going to disagree with me. Probably get some hate comments. That's okay. We all have an opinion. We all have a right to our opinion. You have a right to yours. You have a right to totally disagree with me. But I am who I am, and that's my opinion. So thanks for watching.